Okay. So, yes,
Yes.
did you guys both get per diem checks?
Yeah.
Did you see yours?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
When you want that? Sunday. And then the 2 minutes. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, shall we convene? Let our intimate little group here? Yes. So I'll call the city council public hearing of December 3rd, 2025 to order at 6:46. And let the clerk call the roll.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Deborah Adams,
Here.
Aaron Hansen is absent, Stacy Kinsman,
Here.
Mike Mickelson,
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Here. Kathy Sherman. Is absent, Dave Zastra,
Here.
that's a form of council.
Thank you. Okay, so, we have 3 public hearing items on the agenda. Ordinance 1237, an ordinance of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with Diana Rydell and Kylie Burton for lot 4A, block 3, USS 3345. We have resolution 122528, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, adopting city service fees, rates, and charges for the 2026 calendar budget. And we have resolution 122529, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova adopting an operating budget for fiscal year 2026 and appropriating the amount of $18,675,184 as summarized pursuant to the following table. E-table. Yeah, so is there anyone who wants to come up and comment at the public hearing on any of those items? Well, why don't we recess for a little bit, and if we get some folks who come in and wanna come, we can come back into session. Thanks.
So this would be the time that would be good to have up front, is that what you're saying? But I still don't know how to do anything but mute it. I need to find out pictures of me sharing out Kim. Those was great. And really wake up and hair.
All right, you know. Okay. Well, bring the public hearing back into session, and is there anyone from the audience who wants to comment on any of the public hearing agenda items? Ordinance 1237, purchase and sale, land sale agreement, resolution 122528. Adopting city fees, rates and charges for 2026, and resolution 122529. Adopting the operating budget for 2026. Anybody? Going once? Twice, okay, no comments, so let's adjourn the public hearing. At 7 o'clock. And we'll call the regular meeting of December 3rd, the regular city council meeting of December 3rd. At order, and the clerk can take the roll.
The pledge, the pledge.
You join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Deborah Adams,
Here.
Aaron Hansen is absent, Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Mike Mickelson,
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Here. Kathy Sherman,
Here.
Dave Zastro.
Here.
That's a form of council.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining online. So we've got an agenda before us. Does anyone have any amendments or changes to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objection, we'll consider that approved. Disclosures of conflicts of interest in ex parte communication. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare or ex parte communication to cure? Okay, communications by and petitions from visitors, audience, guest speakers. We don't have any guest speakers. Audience comments regarding agenda items. Yeah, we'll do 3 minutes per person.
I was waiting for someone else to jump in.
Thank you, yesterday's use of.
Nicole Songer, Cordova Family Resource Center, 1215 Lake Avenue. And I'm here today to talk to you about the budget on the agenda. So Madam Mayor and City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I want to begin by sincerely thanking you for reinstating the city line item budget allocation for the Cordova Family Resource Center from $10,000 from the zero amount previous. I recognize that the budget cycle has been very difficult, and decisions and reductions across departments have needed to be made, and I truly appreciate the continued support of the city council, city manager, and city staff for CFRC during this challenging fiscal year. This investment is meaningful for CFRC and the community we serve. Demonstrated local support is a key factor when we apply for state and federal grants. The city commitment strengthens our ability to leverage additional funding and bring essential services and prevention programming to Cordova. Most importantly, this support helps ensure that local families, youth, and individuals have access to safety, stability, and connection when they need it the most. I value the city's partnership and look forward to continuing to work collaboratively. I'm encouraged that together we can find throughout a sustainable, thoughtful, and sustainable ways to support one another in the years ahead and strengthen the well-being of our community. Thank you again for your time, leadership, and continued support. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole.
The other audience comments? Right, I don't see other chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. So we'll go to the consent calendar.
And I will call the roll on the consent calendar. Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Mike Mickelson,
Yes.
Hanson is absent, Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Patty Sherman,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Dave Zastro.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
Great, okay, we don't have any bids, proposals, or contracts to consider. So we come to reports of officers. I didn't include a written report this time. I did hear back from Representative Stutz's office today, when I've been asking a couple times about updates about the ferry. And they met or called anyway, DOT and the AMHS director. And leaned on them enough to get them to commit to having a meeting with the shipyard folks tomorrow, and so they'll report back to us what's happening with the Aurora. And I also wanted to talk about Skaters Cabbages for a minute. I'm working with Samantha on a press release about the challenge grant that the Cordova Community Foundation has put up. And it just made me think about advertising a fundraising campaign and the fact that we're asking folks in the community to pitch in. And I just am thinking that if the mayor and council members haven't already, that it would be really good form for people to make a contribution to that campaign. And it can be anything, it can be $5, $10, $25, $50, but I think it's just really good practice to be, to have made your own commitment if we're asking others to step up and also make a financial contribution, so I'm just hoping people will think about that, and I think, maybe, I would like to ask the clerk if you have the link to the patronicity campaign, that maybe you could send that out to council?
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
great, thank you, great. Yeah, so thanks for that, that is my report. And thank you if you have already contributed. So yeah, city manager, or I guess I should say, are there any other questions for me? I'm happy to. Questions, okay. The city manager's report. Is this going to Sam or do you got it?
I do not have anything to add. I didn't do a report, been traveling medical. So I'm gonna pass it to Kevin to talk about the memo that's attached, and then also maybe a quick update on Second Street and just what it looks like for the potential increase in that match.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, if you see the memo before you on page 30 of the packet, you'll see in there that, Amanda is getting ready to put out the RFPs for the 3 land disposal items that were before you recently. That would be the mobile grid property, the, properties off of Center Drive, and the ones on Ski Hill. So what we wanted to check in with you and get consensus from the council is, first of all, making sure that everybody understands the different methods of disposal that we use when it's a lease versus a purchase and sale agreement, and how a purchase and sale agreement, whether it's a lease, a purchase and sale agreement, or a lease with option to purchase. And just the different implications for the city when it comes to both how we receive the money and also our control over the property and being able to ensure that the development actually occurs. So hopefully everybody read through that. And realistically, I guess the main thing that I'm trying to find out tonight is what is the council willing to entertain from these RFPs? Because it will depend on how we draft them. If you're willing to approve a purchase and sale agreement and a lease with option to purchase, or if you're only willing to approve a purchase and sale agreement, or only willing to purchase approve a lease with option to purchase. I guess just first of all, did everybody read the memo, and do these different options make sense? Okay.
Yes, I think it's pretty clear.
So with that then, I guess just, we don't need to have a vote on this, but I mean, do any of the council members have any concerns about a purchase and sale agreement versus a lease with option to purchase? And if so, as a group, do you roughly have an idea of one way or the other? In the past, we've typically only done lease with option to purchase because it gives us the greatest level of control over the property, because we retain the deed, so we retain ownership of the property until the development has been completed. And then at that point, the sale would commence and we would transfer the deed to the purchaser. Recently, there's been some specific reasons to do a purchase and sale agreements, like with the impound lot, we needed that money to then build the new impound lot. So it did make sense in that case to do a purchase and sale agreement. So I guess with that, what going forward is the council expecting?
Councilmember Adams, yeah.
Just one question, and I understand all the different ways of going about this, but. Substantial completion, when you write the contract, do you actually designate what it means to have something substantially completed?
Yeah, so the applicant, or I guess the purchaser, or whatever you wanna call them, they have to submit a site development plan saying, this is what we're gonna build, this is roughly what it's gonna look like, if this is roughly what the amenities are gonna be and things like that. That is then included as an exhibit to the purchase and sale agreement or to the lease with option to purchase. And so they then have to substantially complete what they've proposed. To then be able to move on to the next step of actually either purchasing the property or us releasing our deed restrictions if we do the purchase and sale agreement.
So I guess, let's just say they're gonna build a house and, what does substantially mean? Is that actually clarified in the agreement that a frame is going to be up, a roof is gonna be up, or?
Yeah, it does lay it out, I don't know the exact wording off the top of my head, but basically it says along the lines of, you know. There has to be a roof, siding, installation, it has to be habitable, you know, plumbing, that the bathrooms have to work, there has to be a way to cook and clean and, you know, hygiene and things like that. So yeah, I mean, while it isn't necessarily, you know, X, Y, and Z, there is roughly items that are laid out that you have to do. So,
Because it's a subjective word, is what
yeah, no, definitely understand that. And I, you know, there is a purchase and sale agreement in tonight's packet for the Rydell purchase, and so there should be language in there that talks about what qualifies as substantial completion, so we could take a look at that, but we do lay out, you know, you need to do this. Yeah.
Do folks online have any questions? Or comments? Opinions?
This is Dave. But all my comment would be is I think the city needs it the most flexibility it can get. So I think having all options available, as Kevin just mentioned, you know, it made sense with the impound lot to sell it. We needed the money to build a new impound lot. That might not pertain to other land disposal. So having a lease with option to purchase, and a straight purchase, having all three options at our disposal seems to make sense depending on what the land disposal is going to be. So I think it's good for us to understand what those all mean, what's the best interest to the city, depending on what we choose. But having them all available is important, I think.
But I think the question is, which of those three does the council want to see? Or maybe people are saying they wanna see RFPs written with all three methods. I mean, people being able to propose, but that's, I mean, does that happen?
We haven't typically wrote it that way in the past, cause again, like I said, the standard has been to do the lease with option to purchase. We've gotten burned in the past with purchase and sale agreements, such as the properties that were sold in the Southville.
Yeah.
And so that's really what pushed council to do the lease with option to purchase. The way that we've done these last couple purchase and sale agreements have been different than how those ones were done in the past. There was, so by law, there has to be like an out for the person, and so there was, it was through liquidated damages, which then just means someone can pay a certain amount of money and not have to do the development. I don't know what's changed, but our legal counsel now has shown us that we can now put, I don't know if this is the right term, but deed restrictions. Basically, in the deed, it says you have to complete the development as you proposed, or we can take the property back. The issue with that is the only way to do that is to go to court.
Right.
Which is time consuming and expensive, and there's, technically, there's no guarantee how that would turn out anyway. So it's just a matter of, is the council willing to accept that risk? And just see how it plays out, specifically with these three, and then also keep that in mind with future land disposals that we'll bring before you, because really it would be good to know as we're putting these out, what is the council willing to accept? Because we don't want to advertise that you will do a purchase and sale agreement, but then somebody puts in all the work to put in that proposal, and then it gets to council and they're like, well, we're not going to do a purchase and sale agreement, we're only doing lease with option to purchase, and so I don't think there's been enough discussion around this part. And so as the land disposal process, we continue to try to create more clarity in it. Because it's not the best process, but it's the process we currently have. We're just trying to make sure that we can put out the best products to the public so that we're not having people submit things that ultimately aren't going to pass the sniff test from the council.
Right, because the RFPs themselves aren't gonna come before council, are they?
No,
Yeah, so it would be good for staff to know for these next three RFPs, what the preference is, and it might, if people feel like it's different depending on the piece of property, that's a fact, that can be a factor.
Madam Mayor,
For now, Councilmember Gazak.
that's fine. I think, considering this and I've certainly heard from people on multiple different projects and problems they've had with the city. It seems like we need to create more of a process instead of like, we're going to evaluate each one individually, anything like that. It seems like we should have sort of a framework for dealing with how property is zoned. So if it's a commercial property, we should say, this is our process that we go through. If it's a residential property, we can say this is our process. And then, maybe there can be some language that says, if you have a process or if you have a proposal that's outside of this, we may consider it, but these are the steps that we're going through, just so that people are clear. But it's going to take some legwork on to define, what that is. It seems like we are sort of building a track record of what we're doing here, but it just seems like it would behoove everybody to have more of it in writing, so there's less questions for the public and for people working for the city trying to get through these issues.
Thank you.
Mayor Smith, do you think we need, to bring these back and take a vote on each one as to how they wanna do each one? I don't know that how soon were you supposed to be putting them out?
there's not a deadline to put them out.
True. Yeah.
We have the RFPs basically ready to go. It was just a matter of getting clarity on this last point. So once we know what the council will accept, we can get them out. We're probably going to delay them a little bit just so that they don't end over the holiday season. So realistically, we weren't going to put these out until mid-month, but again, there's no time limit. It's just, we are then dragging it out. And these people who have put in letter of interest now are being forced to wait. Which is often a complaint with the land disposal process of how long and drawn out it can be.
Yeah, Councilmember Adams.
Another question with, I guess, process as well. Out of these 4 options, are the last 2 lease with option to purchase and sale agreement? Are those the ones that would go to litigation?
Those two could, the lease could also, you could have someone that's no different than renting anything. You could have someone that decides not to leave and you have to get an eviction order. So there's always a risk of going to court, but a good example would be with the mobile grid. They did not complete their site development process. They had a lease with option to purchase, so they were technically a renter. And we were able to mutually, let them know, hey, your time's up, you need to get off the property. They could have pushed back and we could have had to go to court to get an eviction and all of that sort of stuff, but we were able to come to a mutual agreement with that. If we go the purchase and sale agreement route, we hand them the deed when we close, which is prior to any development occurring. Once the property's in their name, we have little legal control over what they do, other than just sitting there waiting until seeing if they get the development done. And if they don't, the only way to then get that deed back is to go to court and have a judge force it that the deed is transferred back to us.
So that one requires court action.
That one requires
Yeah,
court
I
action.
guess that was my question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the purchase and sale agreement would require court action if the substantial completion is not done. Whereas the lease with option to purchase, there is the opportunity to mutually separate without a legal process.
Do folks wanna give staff any guidance? We could take them one property at a time. In terms of talking about them and giving staff direction.
Madam
I think
Mayor, let's
that's-
just do that. We've already had enough conversation. We've kind of beat around that, and I think that's where we're at. Let's just take each property and take a few minutes and decide what we want to do with it.
Okay, so Mobile Grid is the first one I wrote down. That's the one on Northfield Development Park. Yeah, I think Kevin just gave us a summation of where of that one. So do people have a preference for lease with option to purchase or a purchase and sale agreement? Lease with option. Or
Yep,
lease with,
agree.
I'm sorry, was that Mike?
Yep, this is Mike. Lease with option to purchase for that property.
Agreement?
I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Casey?
Objection?
Casey and Dave.
No objection. That's, yep.
Yeah, no objection.
Thank you. Center Drive. Do folks think about that one?
Can you clarify what piece of property that is?
Oh.
Those are the ones, so
Along the Copper River
everyone
Highway?
over Center
Oh, yeah,
Drive
highway,
is,
yeah.
yeah, they're technically, you could access them either from the Copper River Highway or from Center Drive.
Exit lease with option
Same thing.
as well.
Yeah.
Actually, can I jump in for a sec? I guess my thought is, unless staff has a particular reason to think that we should consider anything other than lease with option to purchase, that's what I would want. I'd want to know that from staff. Otherwise, that would be my default.
Okay, I agree with you. That's what we're looking for. Send it.
What,
Or-
right, but I guess I want to hear from staff on these properties if they think there's something different about those that would lease with option to purchase would be something we wouldn't do.
So I guess my thinking behind it and how I've heard in the past with other councils, what they're thinking is basically the purchase and sale agreement option should only be used if it's such a unique circumstance that the council just, for some reason, we can't pass up this opportunity. Or, we, like, there, some sort of special circumstances where it seems warranted. From our, review of these, the letters of interest and, that sort of stuff. I haven't seen a reason to go with a purchase and sale agreement. Again, the lease with option to purchase gives us, as a city, the greatest flexibility, the greatest oversight, and the easiest out, potentially, if the development does not occur. So from a, not just, a city side, but community wide, as, protecting these assets that are, we've been given this land. It's to be, sold off to support city functions. And, we need to then make sure that both support it, it's to be sold off to support city functions, but to also be developed, which then ultimately does also support city functions in the long term with taxes and all that sort of stuff. So I would say,
I would agree with everything you just said, so I'm going to default for the next three, lease with option to purchase.
Yeah. I think Jess would do the same.
Agreed.
Agreed? So,
And it's one more property, correct?
the ski hill properties, yeah.
Or sorry, one more, thanks, yeah.
So people are saying lease with option to purchase as the default. Land sale, land disposal method for mobile grid, well, in general, and then it sounds like there's agreement in particular for those three property disposals. That we're talking about tonight, mobile grid, Center Drive, and the properties on the way up to the Ski Hill Road.
Yeah, and you know, anything that's decided tonight, this obviously doesn't preclude you from doing a purchase and sale agreement with other properties in the future, or even these, if for some reason it's determined that it is necessary. Or warranted, because, you know, much like this, as well as the different disposal methods, whether it's direct negotiations or request for proposals, you know, I know that we always talk about wanting to be consistent, but you have the options for a reason, because sometimes it does make sense to choose one versus the other, and so I would always just caution the council to think of all the options and not always just consider one, but again, you know, I think that typically one makes sense over the other.
Yes.
I would just also encourage staff to speak up and come forward with their recommendations. I think council puts a lot of weight on staff's recommendations too, but it was a good primer, and I think we have been trying to be as consistent as possible, but we have been burned in the past, so it's good to keep that in mind.
Yeah, this was a great summary, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think we got what we need to move forward, and this will probably just be another thing that we'll ask for clarification on every time a land disposal comes before you. So, you know, do you want to dispose of it? What method of disposal do you want to use? And then I guess what sub method of disposal do you want, or do you expect to see coming back? So we'll try to, you know, get as much clarity and information to you when we have more land disposal for the future.
Okay, great. Any other, so what I'm hearing is that there's agreement on, for these most immediate, most near term, land disposals, where council is agreeing to, direct staff to do the lease with option to purchase. That right? And that in general, seems to be the preferred, method, but we are hearing from staff that council can, that there is room to be flexible, that, you know, if there are unique circumstances or something really compelling about a particular case, we could do it, the council could do it a different way. Okay. All right, so staff has direction, great. Other questions for the city manager or the public works director?
Kevin, can you just give a quick summary of Second Street, please, Grant, Matt?
Yes, so, I believe it was last time I met. We decided on how we were going to, fund the match that is coming up for 2026 for the Second Street project. That was all based on the numbers that we had been given by the state. Following that meeting, the state then reached out to us to let us know that the design has basically been finalized. It's gone to the Fed, it's going to the feds for their review. Since it's federal highway money, they have to do a review of the project. But as part of that, they had to finalize the costs. And even though we had thought that the match was already on the higher end to hopefully not have any additional match in the future, it ended up that the estimations came in higher than that. So we are, you know, the state is, those numbers were given to the state by the consultant who's working on the project. The state's now reviewing those numbers. There is a possibility that those numbers could change either up or down. But currently it's looking like we're going to need an additional $600,000 to $800,000 for the Second Street project, on top of what was decided on how we were funding at the last meeting. So yeah, so we will need to figure out how we're gonna deal with that. That money will be due at the end of 26, I believe October is the deadline for that money. We'll be getting more firm numbers from the state here in the next couple months. The good news is if there is any remaining money that isn't spent, we would get that refunded to us at the end of the project. It's just, you know, we have to give them whatever they say up front, and then we would get back money if there's money left over. So,
Does that ever happen? It sounds good. It sounds-
Actually, it did happen once
Yeah.
on
Awesome.
Adams. Adams, we got some money back.
Oh,
I've got a quick question here.
yes, Councilmember.
Yeah, so this is Mike. Yeah, it seems unlikely that we would get money back. I mean, what happens though if it goes the other way, where there's even more required? You know, like what? How often has that happened in the last few years with these sort of projects? I guess is what I'm curious about.
yeah, definitely a possibility. It's a decision the city and the council would have to make if they want to decide to pull out of the project, but we would not get any of the money back that we've already put in for all of the design, environmentals. I mean, we would be throwing away money by pulling out. And it is also good to remember that even though these numbers do continue to climb, ultimately, you know, we are getting a project for only 15% of the cost because that is our match percentage for this project.
I guess that's not really what I was asking. I was asking more of like, so what is the likelihood that, you know, like this number has gone up? What is the likelihood that it's going to go up again even more? So when we're thinking about how we're going to pay for this, I guess I'm just wondering, you know, our money pot's pretty dry here. What what is the precedent that's been happening with these sort of projects, I guess?
Usually when we get to this stage, which we're in the last phase of this project and its construction, and this is it, like there's not a phase after this. So we don't have another phase that could go up. A lot of times it goes up in utilities and right away, and then you still have to go to the construction phase. But this is the final phase. We saw it go up with the White Shed Road, which, you know, has been on the books for a very long time. But once we got to the construction phase, we're good.
Okay, great,
So
thank you.
Sam, Kevin, when do you think this one will go to bid? Because that's when we would know, right?
Yeah, so this will go to bid next fall.
Okay.
So I mean, that's ultimately, we need to have the money to the state because they can't go out to bid until they have all the money in place and all the plans are approved and everything. So this will go out to bid next fall. That's when we would actually know what the final price is going to be, because it'll be dependent on what the contractors bid on the project. So these numbers that we're using right now are the estimates of what we expect the project to cost based on the bids that are received. You know, we are hoping that there will be cost savings. You know, there's obviously no guarantee on who will bid on the project or who will be selected, but Granite is doing other projects in town, and so we're hoping to save maybe on some mobilization costs and things like that. You know, obviously I can't guarantee the numbers will go down, but when I had a discussion with the state about this a week or so ago, they did mention, you know, and everyone's tired of talking about this, but obviously prices went crazy during COVID, everything's been all up in the air. But they did say that these numbers were based on 23 figures and things have started to stabilize and even go down in a lot of sectors. So there is a chance that some of these numbers go down and may potentially reduce the match. I can't promise that obviously, but that was a comment that was made during the meeting.
Thanks. Any other questions online about Second Street? Or? Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the city manager? Right, we can move on to, is there anything else you wanted to add, Sam? I think that covers it.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
City clerk's report.
Just be on the lookout for, advertising coming up for the March 3rd, 2026 election. Declaration of candidacy opens December 16th. 2 council seats, 1 hospital services board, 1 school board. And possibly on December 17th, we'll have a ballot prop to be approved by council. Do you want to comment on that yet?
Oh, yeah, I guess I forgot, and I wasn't sure if we were gonna bring it up yet. So we had submitted a questionnaire to DEC and the State Revolving Fund Program, which is the loan program, to see if a electrified bear fence would qualify as a project that they would fund. We just received the approval that that is a project that they would fund. So we've been approved for a loan of up to $870,000 with 500,000 of that being forgivable. So ultimately, the city's and the refuse department's burden of that would be, $370,000. And that's assuming if the project actually costs that much. We did request more than we're anticipating to need. But until we actually go out for an RFP for that, assuming that this gets approved by voters, because it is a loan, it has to go out to vote. But we would see what the actual final cost, we're hoping it's gonna be much less than that, but we just put in more to at least know that we're gonna have enough, so.
So that's it, timely enough for, to put the ballot prop on, so that'll be nice to do in December. I'll feel better about it. And that's all I'm gonna report right now.
Any questions for the clerk? Oh, nobody's raising their hand on that. Okay, so we've got some correspondence. In the council packets, which looks. Would have had a chance to read through. Any questions or comments about correspondence? Okay, ordinances and resolutions, resolution 12-25-28. Entertaining a motion.
Maybe Scott.
Let me show that.
I make a resolution. A motion to approve the resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska. Resolution 12-25-28, adopting city service fees, rates, and charges for the 2026 calendar year budget.
Second. Moved by Sherman and seconded by Adams, and Councilmember Sherman, you want?
We have gone over these when staff has presented them to us a couple times in work sessions, and then also been available to the public and another public hearing tonight, so I move that we approve these fees and rates for 2026.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams.
Ditto what Councilman Sherman said, we've discussed it at length, and I trust staff. In their recommendations.
Thank you. Any other council comments or questions? Everybody stay muted online, okay. Well, then, let's take a roll call vote.
I will call the roll on 12-25-28. Aaron Hansen is absent. Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Mike Mickelson,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, next resolution, 12-25-29. Any for a motion?
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
I move resolution 12-25-29, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska. Adopting an operating budget for fiscal year 2026 and appropriating the amount of. Oh, big number, $18,675,184 as summarized pursuant to the following table. For a second.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Sherman and seconded by Rainey, Councilmember Sherman.
That this was very painful budget year, as we all recognize, and I'm hoping 2026 will be a brighter year. I think council and staff did a great job of just trying to make it as least harmful as possible.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainey.
I have no further comment.
Any other comments? Online? Okay,
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Kingston.
Yeah, thank you. I this has been a long process, but I don't want it to be lost on us how much effort we've put into it leading up to our budget process, if that makes sense. I can think of the couple years prior, and they were painstaking. We weren't even in any kind of financial situation that we were this year. So we've laid a really good foundation for years to come, and I don't want that to be lost on council and really the community. That really getting these financial updates throughout the year really help us, and from the city manager as well, to get the updates. We knew early in the year, and I'm only more optimistic about that having Cheryl as the finance director. Like I just think we've done a lot of work to be in a really good position, and to be able to point to really us not cutting out and not being reliant on the federal and state funding that we have in the past. That's huge. That was a huge hit to our budget. That's really why we're at where we're at. And there can be some different conversations around, should we ever have been that reliant on that kind of money? We didn't know what we didn't know, but hopefully moving forward, we can really take a look at those monies, put those monies aside if they ever do come in ever again, and they may not. But those kind of things ebb and flow. Those are perfect things for our match funding, and to put into our savings for match fundings and for a garbage truck that we're going to need. So a lot to say. We've done a lot of really good work, both at council and at the staff level, and partnering together. A lot of tough decisions this budget cycle, absolutely. But we've done a lot of good work in making this a more streamlined process than I feel it has been. So thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say, I just did it today. I asked our finance director to help me fill out a table, which she did, and I will share it with the rest of the council, but it just looks at revenue sources over the last 5 years. So by category, so there was like our property tax revenue, or maybe it was all city tax revenue. Okay. Yeah, all tax revenue, and then other governmental transfers, and there's another 7 or 8 categories. But it shows how stuff has shifted over time, and like in 2019, I think, or maybe it was even, wasn't it 2019 where we had the raw fish tax was twice as much as it was for 2025? So it's kind of like the perfect storm, a series of unfortunate events that have led to where we are today. So yeah, it wasn't just one thing, but it was sort of this combination that all landed at once. So yeah, the raw fish tax has gone down quite a bit over the years. The secure rural schools, and the school bond debt reimbursement has gone down by several $100,000. So those were sort of the most obvious decreases. But like I said, I will email that. I'll send that to the clerk and she can email it out to the council tomorrow. Yeah, and thank you, Cheryl, for helping with that, because we're speedy. Back. Okay, I don't see hands raised. I don't see more comments. Are folks ready for a roll call? Okay,
On resolution 122529, budget for 2026, Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Mike Mickelson,
Yes.
Aaron Henson is absent, Wendy Rain.
Yes.
Motion here 6-0.
well done. City manager, finance director, and city staff, thank you. Thank you for getting us to this point. I know there's a lot of hand wringing. Okay. So new miscellaneous business, we have appointments to fill several vacancies on city boards and commissions, and so. Let's see, I think we had. Must have had 12 applications, anyway, we had several applications for Parks and Rec and Planning Commission each, we had one more applicant than we had seats for. And so I made some, making some recommendations based on, in some cases where there are incumbents, in some cases where there's new people who haven't been involved before who are stepping up, and so I would like to propose that we appoint, I guess actually we still have a vacancy on the Harbor Commission, but that we appoint Kenton Soares to the Harbor Commission. He's a driver for Sampson Garden Barge. Historic Preservation Commission, I'd like to appoint Wendy Rainey and Kathy Sherman. Library Board, Mary Ann Bishop and Michelle S. Parks and Rec, Gabrielle Brown and Grace Lee. And Planning Commission, Mark Hall and Chris Ramey. Is there? Does that require a motion? Courage?
Yes,
Motion
motion to concur with the mayor's appointments, or recommendations.
I move to concur.
Does that need a second?
Yes,
Second. Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to concur with those appointments. Are there any comments or questions? About that, it was great that we had such a good response. That was really.
No, Madam Mayor, I just would like to say I'm grateful for these people willing to step up.
Welcome to the volunteer club. Okay,
do you want to just,
all those in voice though? Yeah, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign? Well, I think that was everybody on the first round.
Yes.
I think. Okay. So pending agenda, is there anything we need to add to that? I'm not hearing any suggestions. Or requests, and.
under the referred things, you see like B, the middle, I'm gonna take that number 2 off because we've now passed that part. We always do the school funding back in June or May, and then we have the ability to revisit it, raise it or lower it at our budget. Now we've passed our budget, so I'll take that off.
Right. Well, I guess because it says pending agenda, CIP, calendar, elected and appointed officials list, I would just say. For folks to be thinking about. How we might fill the 2 council seats that are gonna be coming up, if you have. Ideas for. Colleagues, friends you wanna reach out to and. Let them know. Great,
That it's time to take their turn.
right, yes.
Somebody is turned out, one of the council seats is turned out, one is.
Okay, so audience participation. Where we are with the agenda, is there anyone in the audience who wants to come up and comment on anything on the agenda? Anything that's not on the agenda?
Hello. Jeremiah Beckett, grew up here in Cordova, 317 First Street. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. Love the food and family time, plus a long weekend to work on projects. Actually got to spend some time working on home projects, getting ready for work annual strategic meeting. Prepping some coaching material for the robotics team. And also, unfortunately, gathering a bunch of documents to respond to the city of Cordova's lawsuit against my business, the Cordova Copper Star. So I think everyone's aware, the city of Cordova dropped my tender vessel in 2003, the Copper Star. We've been requesting assistance since the incident and still not gotten any help from staff or council. The city has not taken any responsibility for any of the damages or injuries, and they're continuing to deny any wrongdoing. I find it extremely ironic when a community member does all the types of things that city council asks for, like working in Cordova, creating jobs and revenue, mentoring our youth, helping with housing, volunteering. And then the city sues me for trying to hold you accountable for extreme negligence. Now, instead of contributing more time to the community, I'm spending my time and money fighting an insurance claim that should have been resolved years ago. Just wanted to state for the record clearly again, for council and the community, all this can be validated by reviewing my public information request. The city dropped the Cordova Copper Star with the travel lift in August of 23. The travel lift was not properly maintained leading up to the incident. The operators of the travel lift were not properly trained prior to the incident. The city's annual travel lift form was not collected from us. The city deleted the video evidence. The first lift attempt to the Copper Star failed due to a clear mechanical failure, and the operations should have been aborted. The sound from mechanical failure on launch. Our mechanic that's watched the video of the first attempt said that is a large failure and the operator should have stopped. The harbor master misrepresented the incident to insurance and the city, stating no major damage or injuries. To date, there's been over 200K in damages to the vessel and the travel lift, and the captain suffered a debilitating injury to his knee. Now, whether the harbor master is incompetent or lying, I don't know, but it was harmful misrepresentation. I understand when I formally raised the issue of tax fraud and abuse of power by the prior mayor, everyone wanted to just ignore it. I get why you don't advertise that 2 city employees are registered sex offenders. One of them was actually operating the travel lift near my former captain's daughter the day of the incident. I guess we don't legally have to communicate it to town, then why do it, right? But what I don't understand is why the council has not helped us yet, and that someone in the city approved a counterclaim, aka suing my business, for their own negligence. I've known some of you my entire life. I've worked with some of you, coach your kids, our parents play music together, your family, friends, and to my knowledge, none of you have taken any action to help us resolve this. It's very easy to validate public records we already received that we paid for that show the city's at fault. You have insurance to cover the damages. This could literally be resolved in quick order if the city would just acknowledge their negligence of maintaining the traffic lift properly and take the proper responsibility for this incident. My wife and I have invested a lot into Cordova, and we love this town. But I question why we participate when the city has ruined our business and won't do their part. We are wronged by the city. We should be made whole. Your inaction on this matter is condoning the negligence and incompetence of staff. We do our part, and we're just asking you to do yours. Please direct staff and insurance to mediate our claims and resolve this matter. Thank you and happy holidays.
Are there any other audience participation comments? Folks, still here. I don't see anybody coming forward. Okay, so we'll go to council comments. I'm gonna, I guess, start to my left with Councilmember Adams.
This was my first budget process and, I'm hoping that the next budget process will be easier. And that if there are some positive changes, financial changes in the coming months, that we can revisit some things that we've already talked about. And I don't need to rehash them here, but, I hope that there's an opportunity to do that, so.
Councilmember Sherman.
Anyway, yes, echo Councilman Adams, that I'm hopeful for the coming year, and then we can revisit the budget. Now maybe we need to do it for Second Street, but, anyway, it's the end of the year, we're gonna hope for the best in the new year, so. And I will be out of town, the next couple of weeks and not be able to call in, I think, so. I'll miss next 2 meetings.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, that was a tough budget cycle. And I appreciate all the work staff did. Appreciate all the ulcers Cheryl got and still has. I appreciate the public comments. We do hear them. And moving forward, I hope we can find some solutions that everybody's happy with on things. And I hope everybody has a great holiday and had a nice break with Thanksgiving. Maybe we'll see snow.
Thank you. Councilmember Mickelson.
Yeah, I would echo my fellow council members' comments. I also appreciate the thoughtfully worded letters that we have received through this budget process, and just wanted to acknowledge those. And also, yeah, with public comments, we do hear sometimes things don't move as quickly as we would all like, but it is nice to hear your feedback. Yeah, happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilmember Sastro.
Yeah, I like my other fellow council members. I want to recognize what a difficult budget cycle we just went through. And I also appreciate getting the comments from the public and getting their thoughts and opinions. It means a lot. So it was tough decisions that had to be made, and certainly appreciate staff in helping guide us through all these tough decisions. So thank you to staff for everything they've done through this budget cycle. I also thank you, Kevin, too, for the clarification on our disposal methods for land. That's good to know. Consistency is super important, but definitely if there's some unusual circumstances that would require we make a different choice, knowing what our options are and clearly what that means is super helpful. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and making sure that we understand what it is that we're all agreeing to each time we go through a land disposal, because we sure do a lot of that kind of work, and it's significant and it means a lot to the city as far as income. I'm really happy to hear about the loan and the ability to potentially get some relief from the funding to build the bear fence. That's been such a long ongoing possibility. To have that done and to see that be something we might actually get done here in the near future is fantastic. So that's great news. And also, I really appreciate seeing people stand up in the community to volunteer for commissions and boards and committees. I find it incredibly fulfilling for myself. I've been on multiple over the years, and I think once people step up and join in and jump on a committee or a board, I think they also find out that it's really rewarding and makes you feel so much more a part of what's going on in our really awesome community. So thank you to those folks that stepped up.
Thank you. Councilmember Kinsman.
Yeah, lots of great comments. Also, to address the public's I mean, just public input is great. I mean, that's what really a lot of this process is about, is having engagement. This is your city. This is your community. This is your taxes, our taxes going up. This is we collectively need to come up with a way of how we're going to pay for things and where we want resources to go. We only have clearly a very finite amount. So thank you for the public engagement. It is received, and whether it's that or any other item, especially one that was mentioned tonight, it's not on deaf ears. I hope that's known. But again, hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I said my piece about the budget, so I just echo the amount, over an $18 million budget. That's our budget. I mean, that includes enterprises. That's a significant amount of money. That's just where we're at as a community. So appreciate everyone's time. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just, I guess, like to recognize that we've been through a budget process. We had to reduce staff levels, eliminate some positions, and I know it hits everyone hard. I think the folks who work at the city work, I would guess, for the most part as a team. I haven't heard anything about any discord, and a lot of times in the past, there has certainly been discord, and that bubbles up, and that I'm not hearing any of that now, and so I appreciate that that we do have what feels like a strong team, and it's everyone, the emergency services folks, the public safety, the museum, the library, the streets, the water department, the harbor, refuse, recreation. I apologize if I left somebody out, I think that's the city clerk. But I just think all of those people, everybody, takes their job seriously, comes to work, that's a big part of their identity, they are proud of the work they do, and I want everyone to know how much we appreciate that. And we have the most daily contact with the city manager and the department heads, but there's a lot of people out there that make things happen every day, and so I wanna really thank all those people who come to work and do their jobs and take pride in their work and help make our community a pretty highly functioning community. So, yeah, thank you to all city staff, and that's my comment for tonight. All right, well, hearing no other business, we will adjourn. 8:01.
Darn, that one's so soon. You on it? You're